All right, we are recording.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the Rejekts podcast. My name is Lou. As always, one of your hosts. And depending on where the screen is at, the other host should be introducing himself right now.
Seb, DJ Seb right here.
And then, as always, we like to have our guests introduce themselves. Go ahead and tell the audience what your name is and pretty much what brings you to the podcast.
Yeah, so what's up, guys? My name is Alex Gould. I am a fitness trainer, and I'm here today to kind of talk a little bit about mental health, kind of what you should be doing while we're in this quarantine lockout. I know there's a lot of questions with training and how we should be doing it, and just here to answer any questions you guys might have that kind of help out people.
Okay. Like most of our podcasts, we had a little bit of a discussion that kind of like didn't trail in, so we're gonna work that into there. We talked about HIIT training, which both me and Sab are familiar with. I've done stuff like Insanity. I don't know if you're familiar with those type of things, which are brutal, but yeah, it's definitely high interval training. So what I wanted to bring you onto the podcast, which we talked a little bit before we started recording, was our goal right now is to obviously focus mainly around health with the whole quarantine and being on a stay home kind of lockdown, I guess you want to say. We're still able to kind of be mobile, but making use of that and focusing on mental health, physical health, a lot of those things, playing a part. And you would be able to focus for us with physical health as well as mental health and diet too. A lot of those things fall into what your career is at the moment. So can we give a little bit of background? I know you personally outside of the podcast through mutual friends, and you've always been like this bigger guy and everything like that. So it's I've come to you sometimes in the past for like, hey, what kind of protein do you take? Little random questions here and there. So obviously you've kind of involved yourself in that career path too as well. Is there a certain time in your life where you noticed that was exactly what you want to do with your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So like I was telling you earlier, I've been training for about 8 years now. I'm a former NCAA athlete. I played football in college. And from there, I ended up graduating my business degree and getting a certification from the National Academy of Sports Medicine. And that's kind of where I took the shift. So I've been doing that now for about 2 years, where I've been nationally certified, working one-on-one with all types of people. From people that are struggling to put weight on to obesity. I've even worked with special needs kids, children, all types of things. So it's very, very diverse, but that's kind of what training is all about, right? Bringing diversity into the everyday person's routine and showing people how to kind of, maneuver and do things differently, right, than what they're used to. So that's kind of like why we're here, right? To talk about how people can do things a little bit differently, because everyone's used to going to the gym. But now the new thing is, how do we work out at home? How do we work out with virtual training and stuff like that? So I think that the big thing for me when I realized I wanted to become a professional, I kind of just always had a niche. I realized really early on in football, probably back in Little League, that I just was someone that liked to lead people. I like to coach people, like to motivate people, but I never really thought I was going to do it for a career or anything like that. So when I graduated, I had the idea in the back of my mind, maybe I'd like to open up a gym or something like that. But I went the 9-to-5 route. I took a desk job, and I did that for about 3 years, where I was still working on my goals, but I wasn't helping anybody else. And in those 3 years, I kind of lost passion. I was just like, trying to figure out how to interact with others, how to coach people, how to do a lot of stuff, but I was so focused in my just normal 9-to-5 gig working behind a desk. And it just took a shift where one day I was like, I'm not happy. I have a lot of people asking me for help, for questions, advice. So I'm like, I think I'm doing something right. I'm going to take this serious. So buckled down, got my certification. It took me quite a bit. And from there, I just started working with clients, and it's been great ever since.
Yeah. Now, with obviously that involves you kind of being very personable, which you are, but you're always like interacting with these individuals at a place, showing them techniques, showing them, the stance, like proper form, whatever it may be. How has that shifted with, let's say, your clients and even those people asking for advice, now that we're kind of keeping the social distancing in place, which your job obviously relies on being one-on-one and in person with people.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely shifted. When we were still able to go into like the gym settings and I was training people, I would say about 80% of my clientele thought that the COVID-19 was just a joke. They're like, this isn't going to affect our gyms. Nothing's going to close down. None of my clients really prepared for it. And trainers as well. I think that was kind of like the idea, you know, for a lot of people. And then as we came a little bit closer to it and the gym actually closed down. So I think I heard yesterday it's been 44 days since my job closed down. So it has been a little bit different, right? In the beginning, everything started going to virtual training, which is pretty much what we're doing right now. Not many people were using Zoom before this quarantine, right? So that was kind of a new thing. And when we talk about personal training, it's not necessarily the cheapest thing, right? You definitely are paying quite a bit for it, especially with where you're at, location, depending on how advanced your trainer is, having multiple certifications like myself, that comes with the value, right? So a lot of times people don't think they're going to get the value over a Skype session or a Zoom session like this, or they're not going to get that value just working out in their living room. So a lot of people were hesitant. 90% of my clientele fell off that first maybe three weeks, to where they were just like, I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to see how this goes. And as a trainer, I've seen how that stuff goes. Not many people can stay on a dedicated path. That's kind of the goal throughout the process, but it is challenging. Even for myself, I'm someone that is very strategic in my routine every single day. And I can tell you that first week, I Netflixed and chilled. So I don't blame the average person, you know, because it's tough to stay on a routine and stay on a diet, especially when you're in home and the fridge is calling your name every minute. So it is pretty tough. But my strategy was I started thinking, and, you know, something that people have told me from the beginning is if you're trying to make a ton of money, don't go into personal training, because it's more so for the interaction. It's how you provide value, how you give value. And when I guess the point in getting into it is when you see people make that change, and that's where it's like, oh man, like I'm doing something right. And the money will come. It will come if you do the right things, right? And that's what I'm seeing. So what I did was I started offering free sessions. I gave all my clients a free 30-minute session just to see how it is. Because a lot of people don't really like getting in front of a video, working out. They feel kind of awkward. Even if I have worked one-on-one with them before, it's a whole different experience. It's kind of out of people's comfort zone. You're bringing them into your house, showing them kind of what your life is. So it is a little bit different, but at the same time, once you break past that barrier, it's so much better. It betters the client relationship with each other. It becomes kind of more of a bond. I've seen with every one of my clients that's transitioned over to virtual training, I now feel like, you know, they're happy. Hey, Alex, you know, let me show you what my dog looks like. Or their husband gets involved, or their wife. Hey, this is so-and-so. We've been talking about them for the last 4 months. Now you can finally meet them. Hey, this is who's been training me. So it's a nice interaction to kind of feel each other out. So I think it's a win-win on both sides for sure.
Now, how have you seen with the Zoom? Like, obviously you've had a large group of people. You have the one-on-one focus with the clients, but I've noticed you being very social media driven with the Zoom, with like a large group of people. Have you noticed a good amount of success with that?
Yeah, that's actually been where most of my success has come from. So like we see every single day, Instagram is now the new marketing device for everything, right? So the hardest thing for me is how to make myself different from the next trainer, right? Because everywhere you go on Instagram, someone's trying to sell you something. So if I put up, you know, that I'm a personal trainer, automatically someone's thinking, oh, he's going to sell me. But it's not every trainer that's giving out free workouts or just advice in general, right? So that's been something that I was like, I'm going to really, you know, take the time, because a lot of people are questioning this stuff, and it only takes a minute or two to respond to people. And what I was getting was a lot of people don't know how to even work out at home. So I said, okay, if I can hold a free class and maybe open this up, Zoom allows you up to 100 people in a session. So if I can get a free class out there and get some people, you know, active, maybe that might make a difference. And my first class went from 20 people to 30 people, 40 people. So it's just been growing and growing. And now I'm actually doing 2 classes a week. So that's pretty cool. And I've even had people bring in their moms, their sisters, people that don't ever, average, they really don't work out too often. So it's been kind of a good experience for sure.
Now, one thing that obviously SAB works out a lot more than me. I try to, I used to more up in the past, but obviously it's been something that even this is not helping me whatsoever with a new kid and stuck at home and just work. But we have had conversations where we believe that, gyms might actually, downsize, or people may, find because it's not 1-2 weeks, people are now a month, 2 months, they're almost like, now I kind of get comfortable with working out at home. Do you think, one, the gyms and actual places that you go to work out are going to have a long-term effect after this? And then also, are you going to maybe use or implement Zoom or, these video calls for your programs, for your clients later, even after we, go back to normal, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's actually something that me and my wife were just talking about the other day, just trying to strategize on the next game plan. I'm very strategic. I like to be a few moves ahead, right? And I've seen the news and they're predicting that this might come back even worse next winter. So if it does so, I'm definitely going to be ready. And I think Zoom is here to stay for sure. I've already seen in my company that they're kind of regulating that, but it definitely helps. I'm going to answer your second question first, but it definitely helps with the client because a lot of people are traveling. A majority of my clients are consultants, they're doctors, lawyers, stuff like that, accountants, and a lot of them travel, or a lot of them are so busy they're working 12-hour shifts and they can't leave home. So in the instance where that's going on, where people are too busy to make it to the gym, you pop on a Zoom call and boom, we're right there. 30 minutes, we can get it in very fast. And especially if you're doing those high intensities. In the gym, usually it's about an hour, but I'm taking you through a full warm up, a full cool down. I'm stretching you out, right? So I don't have to necessarily do that. And you kind of work that out in your cost, right? But that's kind of just between you guys. But I think it's definitely something to use in your toolbox, especially for people that are busy or people that, a lot of my clients have, more than one kid. And that's the number one excuse when, I worked in gym sales for 4 years and, what it comes down to is I don't have time. I don't have, time to get out, or I don't have someone to watch my kids, or, I like to spend time with my family when I'm at home. So that's an awesome way to interact and keep that interaction, pop the video on for 30 minutes, get a workout in and still, keep crushing it with your goals. Especially, and then on the flip side of things, when you're traveling, so many of my clients, when, they're killing it with me Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday, they're out of state and they got, a small gym or something like that in their hotel and, they blow off their workout. And then they go and order, B-dubs for, the dinner time 2 nights in a row. And now they're all out of routine. Then they come back Monday and they're like, oh man, I need you to kick my butt now, man. I struggled the last 4 days. Well, if you had a Zoom trainer, if you had a Zoom session that night, maybe for, at 8 o'clock and it's, 4 o'clock and you're on the plane or something like that, you might avoid that, that pop or that bad snack or something like that because you got that session. So I think it's definitely here to stay. And then what was your first question? Can you repeat it?
Going back to like how do you believe it might affect the gyms overall too?
Yeah. So that's another big thing. That we've kind of been talking about. I have a lot of trainer friends and a lot of gyms are predicting to close down, especially a lot of the mom and pop gyms. They just don't have the revenue to stay open. So that's going to be one thing with a lot of gyms closing. But the second thing is, the main gyms will always stay open, the bigger ones, the high revenue clubs. But I'm already seeing, like in, China, for example, when things started opening up, not a lot of people started going back into these places. So I think people will be, the gym rats like myself that work out every day, for sure they're going to be back in that gym. As soon as those doors open, they're going to be waiting outside at 5 a.m. I see it every day. But all those people that struggle to get out there maybe once or twice a week, I think a lot of those people are going to try to stay home. So, and that's, you know, in that situation, pop on a Zoom session, you know, they can go to the park over the summertime. You know, there's a lot of stuff that we can do to kind of keep people on the track.
With this, like being a group session and group meetings, have you still bought back your own personal time? Like if you were to continue this and even for a longer duration than what's expected, do you see yourself saving time of having to travel to the gym itself and now you're at home, or you're able to train so many more people at one time, so now you're actually able to make your time be more valuable at an exponential rate than just being one-on-one all the time in person?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the big question you come to, right, when you're a personal trainer is you never have enough time in your day. And that's something I keep hearing more and more and more and more. And I see a lot of the trainers that are making, you know, the most amount of money. They're training Monday through Saturday. Sometimes, you know, they're training from 10 to 12 hours a day. And even though we're training people and it's what we love to do, you're still working like a dog all day. You're working, you know, early hours. You know, sometimes I'm in the gym at 5 a.m. and, you know, I got clients, you know, sometimes at 8 p.m. And I got a big gap in between sometimes too. So it's kind of just seeing how you work your day out and stuff like that. But I think that, you know, with not having that amount, you know, because once you fill up that block, there's only so many clients you could take, right? So a lot of the smart trainers I've seen, you know, they're training 2 people in an hour, 3, 4 people in an hour, or doing big classes in an hour, right? So if we pop that on Zoom, I could do that same thing. Zoom allows me up to 100 clients in 1 hour, and I could keep doing that all day long. So, I mean, for a trainer, I mean, the growth is just unreal that you can do. For one-on-one sessions, though, you could still maximize that if you know, double up on sessions or even every half hour, because you're getting so many more training opportunities in. So I think in both ways, it works out.
That's awesome.
One of the things I wanted to ask you too as well, have you noticed price gouging in gym equipment?
Yes, man, right away. I think I went to Play It Again Sports trying to get some dumbbells or something like that, and they were like double the cost. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
On Facebook Marketplace and even some websites that I've kind of looked at, I just noticed like out of stock, or, you know, shipping's going to be delayed by months. And then you go on Facebook Marketplace and it's like 3-4 times the amount for plates or you know, anything. Cause I noticed you made a post about looking for a barbell or something like that. And I was like, he's gotta be noticing what I'm seeing too as well. Cause he knows the price is down to a point. So I noticed that too. Is like, I watched a video where, this guy usually does gym reviews, and he was saying like how people gouge these prices in this time. And, you know, some places, some actual businesses for brand new equipment are spiking it up too as well. So that does make it, one, I want to get maybe your thoughts on that too, is because, you know, like what do you do now? People that really do want to lift weights, what are they supposed to do? They just got to do like, you know, body weight pretty much.
What are some substitutes you've also made for dumbbells? Have you like done buckets or something?
Yeah. So that's an awesome question right there, right? Because when equipment's not available, what do you do? And I think that's when the value of having a trainer comes into play, right? Because, for example, I had a girl yesterday squatting with 3 wine boxes, you know, holding that out in front of her to engage her core, you know. So there's the creativity is, you know, what comes up for us. So, I mean, if you're a creative person, you know, my hat goes out to you, but most people are not creative, and most people aren't sitting around all day like myself, you know, looking up all these cool things to do at home. So if you have the time, you know, just let the creativity go and try, you know, feel it out for yourself and kind of see what you can do. But there's so much you can do. I got, you know, these big water, you know, let me show you. I got these water jugs right here. And when these are filled up, these are 44 pounds. So, I mean, 44 pounds is pretty heavy. You can squat with these guys. You can curl them. You can do a lot of stuff. But that's just something I use on a daily. Resistance bands is awesome. I haven't really seen too much of a dip in resistance bands. And since I've seen this lockout, I've seen a lot of like entrepreneurs create resistance bands too. So, excuse me. So I think those are always going to be there. And the more and more research that I see, or that I'm doing, I see that you can do more and more workouts with resistance bands. So that's awesome. And that's kind of just endless. And it's not just all like glute workouts and stuff like that. You can definitely get a good workout in with just resistance bands. But just getting creative, right? Using like different things. Like I had an older client last week, and I had her doing curls with the milk jugs. Yeah. You know, just anything that has some type of weight to it. You know, even doing like, you know, for the guys, if you're doing like shoulder flies, you know, picking up a lighter chair and holding that in one hand. You know, so just like household stuff.
I've seen people like YouTube channels and stuff. They'll like lift up like a small sofa. They'll like lift it up and do that. You know, even my girl, she was like, "Oh, I was like at work and I come home. I was like, oh, did you do any exercise?" And she's like, "Yeah, she took the baby and she would just do like squats. Oh yeah, just go up and down, up and down. My baby's got a big head, bro. That's a lot of weight. You know, like it's awkward positioning. He's a watermelon, you know, so it's obviously going to be something like that too. Can I ask too, is how do you, with these calls with your clients too as well, one of the things that we touched on too is like, you said that first week, you being someone that's really strict on yourself, just kind of like, oh, I'm just going to Netflix, I'm going to binge. For people, especially with their diets, just going off the rails, do you, like, even with this time with your clients, do you still try to give them some sort of, you know, like, hey, let's kind of stick to this? You see like a lot of like lack of motivation for, you know, sticking to diets because, like I said, a lot of people are at home and they're always by the fridge, they're always by these snacks. So what kind of difficulties you yourself, obviously, and you know, with directing your clients to face?
Yeah, so I think diet is always the number one factor. Always, right? Because it's so important in your training routine, and I feel that it's so neglected. Most people I've seen make it to the gym and do the workout, especially when someone's telling you what to do. But when you know, kind of ball's in your hands and no one's looking, that's when people like to cheat on the diet, and myself included, right? So one of the tougher things that I found for myself was the snacking. When I'm on the go all day, I'm doing stuff, I'm on my feet. I'm not really thinking about having snacks, but when I'm at home, I just find myself snacking all day. So that was one of the things that I eliminated right away. I was like, all right, I got to get back on control. I'm going to take out the snacks. And every time I want a snack, I'm going to drink a cup of water. And I've actually, I kind of trialed that out for myself, and I started telling clients to do that. And they're like, okay, cool, I can do that. Because usually that water will fill you up, and it's not really you being hungry, it's your brain thinking you're hungry because you're bored. Yeah. Right. So, so that's kind of something that I've worked out with myself and with clients. On the flip side, with clients, I've seen a lot of people actually under-eating compared to overeating, or under-eating their calories, but it being all with the wrong foods, right? Yeah, snacks, man. Chips are a killer for everyone. Chips and pops. And then obviously drinking is a big thing right now too. A lot of people is, you know, kicking back, you know, drinking beer, stuff like that. So those are just empty calories, empty carbs. Those are going right to the belly. So in those situations, I'm just trying to steer them off, and not completely change the diet, because, you know, there's a lot of emotions, a lot of stuff going on, you know, with people right now, a lot of people not working. So there's, you know, depression, anxiety, stuff like that comes with it. So food does help, but just in moderation, right? Especially if you're working out all the time, you can have, you know, a cheat meal here and there. You know, you're not going to gain that quarantine 15 by just having a cheeseburger every now and then or something like that, or a beer every now and then if you're in an active routine. But steering them off, just making small changes, eating a little bit more breakfast, having a little bit more water, cutting out a few snacks throughout the day, and then you start seeing some changes.
Do you have any personal, obviously, like I said, you speak on how you're trying to assist your clients, but is there anything personal goal wise that you set for yourself, like every year, every month, certain, you know, weights that you want to, what are your own personal goals with weightlifting and stuff?
Yeah. So, I'm one of those people that push it to the limit. So the cool thing with me is, I don't like this one, you know, spectrum. I'm not just like a bodybuilder or, you know, someone that played football. I like to really kind of like take myself out of the comfort zone and see, you know, how I can get better at everything. So with this quarantine, something I've kind of, you know, directed towards myself is I wanted to learn how to box. I've been wanting to box for like 5, 6, 7 years now. And it's such a complex sport, especially with just learning the form and all that. So that's something that I've kind of invested in during this quarantine, and I've been actively boxing, doing cycling, and those are 2 things that I've wanted to do for so long. So I'm taking advantage of the time in that way. But I think every year I'm just going to try to push the margin. You know, I feel that every year that I get more and more into being a trainer, I see how, you know, how big this fitness world is and how much more stuff you can do besides just lift weights. And I'm finding more stuff on how to be flexible, how to work on my mobility, how to do more functional type of movements, how to train with kettlebells, how to train the proper way with dumbbells. It gets pretty advanced with stuff, and you can do a lot of different stuff with it. So that's kind of where my education is going, and kind of what I'm doing for fitness is I think just as soon as I master one thing, I'm going to hop to another thing and just keep that in rotation as long as I can.
Now, do you implement any other things like yoga, sauna sessions, swimming, certain things like those?
Yeah, absolutely. I always say that I'm going to swim. I grew up with a pool in my backyard, so I swim a lot growing up, and I know the benefits of swimming. My gym, unfortunately, doesn't have a swimming pool, but if it did, I would be in that pool for sure. But yeah, I definitely believe in yoga. Meditation is definitely awesome. That's something that the last few months, since probably New Year's, I've been trying to really work on and get meditation better, just for overall general, you know, just self-being. But recovery is key. Stretching, yoga. I've had, you know, I haven't done hot yoga. I'm not that intense yet, but I've had dozens and dozens of people tell me the benefits of hot yoga and how I got to try it. My sister works for a chiropractor, so I go to chiropractor quite often. You know, I'm working on, you know, my mobility in that way too. So yeah, I try to be as diverse as possible.
Okay. And then can we, because I know I sent this question to you, so hopefully, obviously, we can get some sort of answer for it. But your own individual supplements and your own individual kind of diets that you kind of go by personally. So, like, what kind of proteins do you take, you recommend, and such like that?
Yeah. So, supplement wise, I actually have a pretty extensive background in supplements too. I worked at GNC for a while, where I was a manager, so I got a pretty good idea on supplements. And that's kind of like my long-term game is I want to get into, you know, designing my own supplements eventually.
Okay.
So that's kind of where my head lies. But for me, fundamental supplements, I mean, I'm not huge on that. I'm big on trying to get your calories in your meals and stuff like that, because that's going to be obviously the better source of protein. But I can go over a few of my supplements for you. I got them actually laid out right here.
Okay.
Here's some nice protein. So pretty much just like right after workout, protein isolate, very fine, breaks down very, very quick. So protein immediately after. To give you an idea of how soon after, my shake is already being shook up when I'm on my last set. So I want to make sure pretty much that gets into my muscle immediately. And then I usually use protein shakes throughout the day for like a snack for a lot of my clients. So a lot of people that are hungry throughout the day, stuff like that, you do, you know, 2 scoops of some protein, even some like peanut butter, something along those lines. A little bit extra calories, extra fats is going to be all right if you're doing it kind of like a snack throughout the day. Let's see what else. And then just pretty much the fundamentals. So I always take a multivitamin. I think right now it's super important to get your extra doses of vitamin C, vitamin D. And then I take a fish oil as well. This helps pretty much with joints, making sure you pretty much have like that mobility in your knees because I get tight knees. And then I got collagen. That's pretty much just helping with overall muscle repair, helping with skin, hair, nails, stuff like that. And then lastly, amino acids.
Okay.
And you see, I'm not sponsored by anybody or anything like that. I have a nice variety of every single one here is a different brand, a different company. I like to really look at what I'm getting and make sure it's the actual blends. A lot of companies will just throw up a mix of different blends, and you don't actually go with like the amounts and stuff like that you're getting.
Now, if you had to, let's just say, obviously, if it's protein, whatever it is, if you could recommend one thing for someone to take, whether it be a supplement like a protein or whatever, or even like a vitamin or something, what would be that 1 and 2 duo that you would say this is like my go-to recommended for everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say a protein and a multivitamin for sure.
Okay.
And people can argue it all the time, and that say that you can get it out your food, and you can, right? If you're eating properly, you can definitely get your adequate amount of proteins, your right amount of vitamins, 100%. But in the average American diet, most people aren't. So that's why we have supplements to supplement the areas that we're missing, right? Fill in those holes. So protein, that's going to be super good, especially when you get done working out. Your muscles pretty much are breaking down in that meantime. That protein is going to create a nice filler to make that muscle growth. And then your multivitamin just gets you everything that you're missing that you're not getting from your food.
Okay. Sab, do you have anything in particular? I have another thing to tell you, but I want to let him get in. Sometimes I talk a little too much, bro. And like Sab's over there just like, yeah, good, man, good.
No, what's your, I don't want you to give away too much of your, your tips that you give away in your specific training with clients and stuff, but overall, what's the ideal diet for someone that is doing a home workouts and is not moving around so much as we normally would? Is that where the supplements come in? You can treat your normal diet as it is, or are you saying maybe up your vegetables or just up your fruit, or what's those little tweaks that kind of help that maybe someone might not have access to so much supplements, but all right, I got this stuff around the house?
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone's diet's going to be a little bit different depending on what they want to do, right? So
and this is also assuming that someone's working out and just like, but I feel like even me, myself, I'm not walking a lot. I remember I'm doing running here and there, but I haven't been routine with it. And that's something I got to work on. But even I've noticed that if I don't walk that day, or if I don't spend 20 minutes walking, like everything is tight still, you know what I mean? So I know I'm not burning as much calories as well, even though I'm burning in my workouts, but throughout my day, I feel like it's a very short period than what a typical full day period with someone would normally have.
Yeah, absolutely. So for someone like in your situation, right, I would try to stay as clean as possible with your diet. And what I mean by that is eliminating stuff that's like, super, super greasy, the pizzas, Italian beefs, hot dogs, cheeseburgers, stuff that really doesn't have high nutritional value. And try to just keep very, very clean with stuff. A lot of home cooked meals, trying to stay away from like liquor, alcohol, or just keep in moderation, keeping your water content high, and just really looking into, like the beneficial foods, instead of doing like the fried chickens and anything fried, go grilled during this quarantine, because you're not going to be as active. So you're not going to burn off as many of those calories because we're not walking around. So in this time, limit what you're eating, and you might end up getting better results than before quarantine. So that's kind of been
like you put in a time like this, would you say, because I've even thought about maybe putting like sticky notes on my fridge or something like that to like stop me from maybe eating or keep me on track or something, like you don't need it this time, even though I was just there like a half hour ago or something, you know what I mean? Like, is there any like psychological things that you're doing? I know you said the water was one, but is there?
Yeah. So visual hacks, I'm huge on visual. So one good thing that I like to have is I always have a goal board, which showing me what I want in like the next 3 to 6 months, the next year, the next 5 years, next 10 years. Right. So I'm always focused on that goal. On my phone, I have in the background, I have pretty much where I want to get to. And on my other background I have is my goal that I'm trying to get to right now. So one of that is to stay focused, and it pretty much says that on my phone. So every single time that I want to eat or get, out of control or something like that, I have that constant reminder, 15, 20, 25 times a day, stay focused. And I know to me that stay focused means controlling my eating, because that's the only part in my life right now that's kind of out of hand. So that I have mental cues like that all day. I think I seen a meme that was like someone opened their fridge and it was like, "You're not hungry, go away." And I love that, because that's something I would do. I would, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, do you? Oh, go ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
No, Lou had something. Go ahead, bro.
I just want to know, like, do you have a certain cheat meal? Like, you know how The Rock has the stack of pancakes, you know, like, what is your go-to cheat meal? I mean, obviously right now, like, a snacks, but what is the one thing that you look forward to when you're, like, deep into training and really focused on it?
Oh, man. It's a combo, man. I'm huge on, like, deep dish pizza. Like, extra cheesy, like, that's me all day. And then, like, ice cream. Like, ice cream is just a constant weakness for myself. So I discovered Halo Top, the protein ice cream, and that kind of got away from me a little bit. So I had to cut that out. But yeah, man, between pizza and ice cream, it's just like, it's temptation.
Okay. Now, do you plan on focusing on furthering your education anymore, like in certain fields that may obviously benefit the career that you're in right now? Is there anything else that you can kind of pursue?
Yeah, absolutely. So the more that I'm doing research, there's endless amount of certifications. There's certifications for everything, you know, to take you to the next level and how you can be, you know, a better trainer. So my goal is I'm going to keep getting certified in pretty much everything that interests me forever. I want to be like the master trainer, if you'd say. So currently during this quarantine, I've been studying. My next certification is learning how to train athletes at the collegiate level. So I've done some workshops and stuff like that. It's a little bit different form of training, right? So you kind of got to get involved and do actual hands-on workshops. And then from there, I'll take a test and get that certification. But next for me from that is just working on nutrition. I really want to become a nutritionist specialist and get certified in that. A lot of times personal trainers recommend like nutrition programs, and technically you're not supposed to unless you're certified. So that's something that I would like to, you know, get the technicals on, so that way I can kind of help people with that. But yeah.
Now, were you, because I know you go to the Arnold, right? Is that something that you usually do? Are you bummed out that they kind of canceled it too as well?
Oh man, yeah, I was really bummed out. Yeah, we normally go every year, and that's a big thing that's exciting for me. I get a lot of free stuff, and if you throw a shirt on that says trainer, you usually double the free stuff, so it's pretty good.
Nice.
But yeah, this year we actually had tickets for everything. They still had the strongman competition, so we were just like, you know, we're still gonna go. So we went to the strongman competition. We did see that Saturday night, so that was pretty cool. But everything else was canceled. So yeah.
Cool. That's like one of the first, like, you know, there's certain things that you have certain people that remind you of like what it is. When they said they canceled it, I was like, oh, Alex is probably bummed out right now. Like, that's gotta be the worst feeling.
I love it.
That's a good segue too as well. I don't mean to get too personal, but one, congratulations on being married, you and your wife. But then also, like, I know you both kind of are very active and such. Is that kind of like a benefit in having someone that obviously pushes you, or maybe kind of like is your equal with, hey, let's go on a walk. Yeah, I'll go on a walk with you. Or hey, let's go for a hike, whatever it is. Is that something that, you know, is beneficial in relationships too as well?
Yeah, I think it's super beneficial and important too. And Christina, she wasn't always like that. When I first met her, she was active and she was in shape and stuff like that, but she wasn't kind of like push it to the limit like myself. So that was something that took some time. And for a while, I was that motivating factor for her, telling her to get up and go to the gym. And she kind of pushed through it, but didn't enjoy it. And after a while, we just kind of realized that like it kind of took a shift. And I think before I got certified to become a trainer, I kind of went through a period of time where I was just doing the same thing every day. And I feel like this happens to a lot of people. They're working out, they're doing the same thing, the same workouts, nothing's changing, and they get kind of fed up. And because they're not challenging themselves, they're not changing the routine or, you know, their training intensity and stuff like that. That was kind of, you know, a little bit before I knew exactly how to play with your training intensity and volume. And it changed, and she was the one that was motivating me and telling me to get up, get going and change my routine and stuff like that. So in that situation, it kind of flipped roles, and it helped me. And then since then, we've just kind of been a team. Every time that, you know, I'm kind of off point, she kind of, you know, whips me into gear. And then like when she's off point, I'm like, hey, you know, you're working out with me today, so you got about an hour to get your head right. And like, you know, we get in each other's head like that. And I think that's cool, you know, especially being like an athlete. I always, you know, grew up working out with other people. So for me to work out individual, it's kind of different. You kind of got to be in your own head and stuff like that. And I think when you work out in front of somebody, even if it's like your significant other, you still want to perform. You want to do better. Even, you know, anybody's eyes on you, you still want to do better. So I think it's definitely works both ways.
Now, before we kind of, I think, because that's a great way to conclude it too as well. I got one other question is, I know one thing that I want to get into is obviously when's the days that you usually do your Zooms? For people that are watching this that may be involved, how do they get to be a part of it? Like, how do they, you know, where do they go to? Where can they find you to get involved in those?
Yeah, absolutely. So I hold 2 classes right now. Saturday morning at 11 a.m. every Saturday is a free class for anybody, any friends, family, anything like that. And Wednesday night at 6 p.m. is a 30-minute core class, and that is a $5 entry. So I wanted to keep costs and everything extremely low right now while people are going through this quarantine, because I wanted to just get people active. You know, and that's kind of the name of the game. So to register for either of those, you can contact me on my social media. On Facebook, it's just my standard name, Alex Gould. Or on Instagram, that's kind of where I do all of my marketing. My Instagram handle is FitWithAlexFlex. And pretty much you could just DM me. I'll register you and send you a link and a passcode, and you will be set up to go. It's super, super easy. Very fun workout. There's a lot of people on there. My buddy's a DJ. He does all the soundtrack music for it. So it's been a really good setup.
Yeah, I know. I talked to SAB too. I was like, man, I'm going to get you to DJ on one of these things so you can.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Now, another thing too as well is how much for this, how much space in your home do you need? That's something about probably people don't really think about going into those, but you know, some people have small apartments, their studios, they live in, you know, a room with several roommates. How much space or equipment do you need to be, you know, technically be a part of these things?
Just a living room. I'm working with about a 4x4 space, so not very big. Enough to where you can spread out, you know, full hands, full legs. And then really the only equipment you need is yourself. I like to have people get a book bag, fill it up with anything heavy, really. 5, 6, 7 books is good. That way, if we do like squats or any type of movements like that, you got some type of weight to make it a little bit harder on resistance.
Okay. Yeah, me and Sab got to be a part of one of these.
Yeah.
Sab's going to breeze.
No, when it's like interval training like that, I'm a quick sweater, so I like 5 minutes in, I'm already profusely done.
Drenched. And then lastly, the last thing, obviously, I'll go ahead and put your tag on your right here too as well. But I mean, any last words for people that are maybe not even anywhere remotely close to working out? What's the one thing that you can pretty much say, like, hey, this is what you need to do, whether it's focus on your diet first, focus on your workout, especially right now. You know, just one key advice pretty much for them.
Yeah. So the one thing that I would do is to just start. Don't set a date. Don't set you know, by summer I'm going to look like this, or Monday I'm going to start. Don't do that. Just get up and do it. Do something. Even if, you know, popping on YouTube and looking up like a simple YouTube workout for 15 minutes. There's a lot of websites out there that'll give you, you know, a 20-minute workout, a 15-minute workout. And really you look at your whole day, 24 hours. What's 15 or 20 minutes? So just get into it, moving. It's going to be hard for a little bit, but then, you know, it takes 21 days to build a habit. After you do it a few times, you definitely get used to it. So there's so much information out there to just start getting active and start doing it. And all the people that are worried about their diet and like the whole eating side of things, start working out first. And then you can make little tweaks here and there and baby steps with your diet. And then you'll see, you know, once you start working out and feeling a little bit better, you're not going to want to eat, you know, bad. It'll start changing. Your whole mentality will start changing, and then you'll start looking up recipes, and everything will just funnel in through there.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thanks, Alex. We appreciate you obviously tuning in and joining the chat. Sab, you got anything? Well,
This has been great, man. I appreciate you and the work that you're doing, dude. So it's a lot of people need that motivation right now. So the fact that you're stepping into their living rooms and being a part of this pandemic that only happens every so often, and you're one-on-one with these people and you're going through it with them, and they know that you're not going to let them down too, even if you're not in front of them. It's just terrific work. I have like nothing but respect to trainers and coaches, because I'm that athlete and that person that like needs that extra push. Even though I know I can do it, when it's like someone else is in front of your face, like knowing that you can do it, it's like, now I know I actually can. You know what I mean? If it weren't there, I probably wouldn't have done it. I would have gave up. You know what I mean? So being a part and actually putting that pressure on people in a good, positive way, it's beautiful work, dude.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate your time and appreciate you guys doing this podcast, man. This is awesome. You're giving a lot of content to a lot of people that, you know, are definitely needed in this time. So keep doing it.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks, man. We'll work on something together with Sab DJing one of the things live and everything like that.
Yeah, man. If you ever get like a group big session, we'd love to get a recap of it or shoot it, man. There's so much content to be made, and it's just going to be awesome once things get normal, man. There's so much work we want to do.
Absolutely, man. I'm down for the work. We'll get together for sure.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Thanks,
All right.
everybody tuning in. Thanks.